Well, let's dig into some of the tunes first. The track Greater Than All My Regrets has been making waves since the release. Just a powerful reminder that God is so much more vast than our shortcomings are, and thank God for that. The journey to this message is pretty remarkable, though. This came on the heels of a decision that some time ago you guys made to really cut back on your touring schedule. Can you explain that trek?
Yeah, that's right. We actually, if you remember a song of ours called Control, parentheses, Somehow You Want Me, I wrote that song when we basically decided to cut the number of shows we were doing almost in half, even if it meant we would end up having to quit the band. Because basically said, we have to do what we feel our families need first, our occupation second. And God totally came through, kind of blew us away the next year. And you would have thought I would have just been high-fiving unicorns and stuff, but just the opposite. I actually was overwhelmed with regret because I just kept saying to God, I should have done this sooner. I should have cut the number of shows we were doing sooner. I didn't have to miss all those birthdays. I didn't have to miss that dance recital, blah, 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 on and on and on. And I was on my kitchen floor one morning and felt God whisper in my ear, Mike, trust me. I'm greater than all your regrets. Let's get up and try again. And I immediately started writing the song, Greater Than All My Regrets.
The title track, No Shame, really breaks ground, I think, when it comes to the soundscape. It's a fresh and distinct listen from anything that I've heard from you guys and what you've done before, which is really saying something because you're quite the pioneers for the most part. But could you take us inside crafting this one? I know you've said that even that sound is an intentional part of the message that you're trying to convey there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. You know, that track is, as the kids are saying, it's a bop. Not my words. You know, Jeff, our guitarist, he started writing a lot of film and TV placement stuff the last couple of years. He works on commercials a lot with other writers here in Nashville. And I think it's really just like kind of woken up his brain of just the kinds of ideas he brings. And he brought sort of the initial idea to that. And we had both been doing counseling for the first time these last couple of years. And something I've really been learning is giving myself permission to feel all my feelings. I've spent a lot of my adult life dismissing certain things I feel. For instance, I'm getting out of the bus on a tour last year, and the tour manager of the tour, he comes up walking beside me, and he says, "Hey, Mike, how you feeling?" Well, I'm supposed to say, "I'm doing great, feel awesome."
Yep.
I've been doing this emotional therapeutic work, and I instead respond, "Thank you for asking. I feel sad and lonely." To which, of course, he said, "Oh, you shouldn't feel that. It's a great day." To which I stopped and I said, wait. I've been gone from my wife and kids for 4 days. If I didn't feel sad and lonely, something would be wrong. So that song is this sort of ethos of learning, wait a second, emotions are not good or bad. The choices I make from those emotions, that's what can be healthy or unhealthy.
Man, that's powerful stuff. I also couldn't help noticing that we're only 5 minutes in, and you've already used Greek phraseology and talked about unicorns, which is very impressive, Mike.
Dude, Greek unicorns are my favorite. You know what I mean? Get a euro from a unicorn. Woo! Sparkle dust and lamb. Let's go.
You have said that you wrote the book because you couldn't fit everything on your heart into the record, sir. Introduce us to this tome, if you would. By the way, am I saying that right? T-O-M-E, tome. Is that tome or tome?
I know Mel Tome.
I know you like words. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Introduce us to this tome, I think, if you would,
yes,
by taking us inside that really eye-catching piece of language in the title. What's the significance of the way you've tweaked that phrase, finding God's life for my will?
Well, it's kind of what I've been doing for the last 20 years. You know, I share a lot of thoughts. There's some crazy kind of little phrases in the book. One is, don't live for God. One is, I stopped asking God to use me. One is the day my Dove Award died. I like to take these phrases that we've said over and over and over, and I like to go, do you even know what that even means anymore? I talk about the word leader and how it's probably come to mean something it wasn't meant to mean. I don't think that word think it means what you think it means. Inconceivable. Anyway.
Best movie of all time. God bless you.
That's what I'm talking about. So I've had just a lot of kids, because I'm up on stage and I look somewhat successful to them. They come up to me like, when did you know this was God's will for your life? And I always go, I don't. And they shrug, their face pinches, and I go, God's will for my life is joy, and God's will for my life is peace, and God's will for my life is humility, kindness, blah, blah. And they always go, nah, that's not what I mean. You know what I mean. When did you know this was God's secret plan for your life? And I started thinking about that and realized, if I'm supposed to live a life of faith, then God doesn't want to give me a whole plan. Because if he gave me a whole plan, I couldn't actually live in faith. To live in faith, I actually have to not have all the answers. And then I started going, what if I stopped asking for some treasure map from God, and instead I asked, hey God, where does your life need to change me? Where are the ways that I'm not treasuring you above all? And I'm really just trying to use you to get to other things I treasure. So that's kind of what the book's about.
That was the aha moment.
You know how Jesus talks about kingdom of God's like a dude. He's out in a field, finds his treasure.
Yes, sir.
Immediately sells everything he has, and he buys the field. But he doesn't buy the field for the field. He buys the field for the treasure. And I think a lot of us forget that Jesus is the treasure, not fulfilling your purpose or your occupation or your legacy even, or your ministry. All that's the field. Jesus is the treasure.
Well, we're having the chance to have a great conversation today with a thoughtful and big-hearted gentleman who supplies lead vocals for 10th Avenue North. The Lads just released their latest record called No Shame, and Mike penned his first book out this month titled Finding God's Life for My Will. His presence is the plan. Mr. Mike Donahue with us on Faith Radio's On the Road today. There are so often these hinge moments in our stories where God just shows up so powerfully in a place that looks so dark. And man, for you, my word, you were nearly killed as a high schooler in a car accident. And as you recover, you ask for a guitar. Would you sketch that one out for us, sir?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that about me. But the only reason I started playing guitar was my senior year. Me and my buddy were driving to school. He's driving, catches the edge of this country road in Virginia, and we start fishtailing. And at 50 miles an hour, we flip our little Honda CRX 5 times. And I'm not wearing my seatbelt. I get thrown out the window, Peter Pan style. I hit the pavement. I break my back in 2 places, break my face, rip my ear off. They put me in an ambulance. I flatlined 5 times, they say, on the way to the hospital. I'm in intensive care for a week. They're saying I'm not going to make it. And as the dust settles and they realize, okay, looks like he actually may recover, I have to lay on my back for 2 months. And that is the first time I got so bored that I asked how to learn how to play the guitar. And that chapter is called When Dreams Die. And, a lot of people say stuff like this. They say, when God's delaying a dream, he's not denying it. He's just delaying it. But I don't actually think that's true. I think God sometimes just straight up denies our dream. He straight up changes the plan. And because I thought I was going to be like a basketball player at one point. And then I amassed my formidable 5'8" frame and realized maybe professional basketball isn't in the cards, And I've had these dreams along the way. And if I closed my fists around the way I thought my dreams should have gone, I would have missed what Jesus, as he was taking one thing away, he's trying to hand me something else. But as St. Augustine said, God's always trying to give us good things, but our hands are already too full of other things to receive them. And this is what I've come to realize is The problem with our dreams is that God actually knows what we're actually dreaming. Let me break that down. We think, okay, my dream is to be famous. God goes, actually, your dream is to be known and loved. So I'm going to give you that without giving you the fame. And then we say, oh, my dream is to be the CEO of a huge business. And God goes, actually, your dream is to be a part of the kingdom with what you do and making money to help other people. So I may not make you as powerful and rich as you thought you should have been, but I will give you that dream. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow. That's really eye-opening stuff. That is really something. Thank you for that. You
follow your desires deeper down. That's what I say.
Our dreams are too small, huh?
Oftentimes.
Wow. You invite us to take a second look at the way we approach others as well, which really does connect in a way in our daily interactions in light of what God says about who they are. And you pen this line, what if I could enter a social setting ready to give worth rather than trying to garner it? That was a rather convicting mic drop moment for me. Could you take us deeper on that one?
Oh, man. Yeah, so here's the problem a lot of us have. We feel like God's not using us. And we're going, God, I'll do anything. Just give me an opportunity. And Jesus goes, cool. I'll send that annoying kid to your lunch table. And you're going, no, God. That's not what I said. I want to be a big deal. I want to do big things for you. And God goes, okay, cool. Hey, here's the janitor. Just an old guy who wants to talk to somebody. So just listen to him. Yeah, God, I don't have time for that. I need to do big things for you. And to quote Mother Teresa, she said, we do no big things for God. We just do small things with great love. And a lot of times we're waiting and waiting and waiting for these opportunities, and we're just missing opportunity after opportunity because, as Mother Teresa said, the problem is Jesus often wears distressing disguises.
Whoa.
So we don't see that he's actually offering us a chance to serve him. He said, whatever you do to the least of these, you do unto me. So it would make sense that he would often send us down the social ladder to meet with him because that's what he did for us.
Oh, that's so well said. I've enjoyed hearing you talk, and you've done this for some time about walking the line between success and failure before, because you really do have this extremely unique position of being celebrated, as you put it before, just for showing up to work, right? While you're touring with the rousing ovations, the devoted listeners. But you explore in the book your realization that pride has no place in the Christian life. I wonder a couple things. How did you get there, and how do you continue to live in that place in that really unique circumstance that you live in?
Ooh, well, it helps that I'm married. You know what I mean? Hard to get too big ahead when you have someone all the way in who can tell you how it really is, Yeah, and pride, man, isn't that, it's the worst. You could almost argue that any other sin is forgivable. But pride is the only one where you don't wake up and go, oh, I need help. Because pride is the one thing telling you, I don't need any help. So pride is actually the one thing that could keep you from God's forgiveness. I mean, after all, he says, if you don't forgive others, I won't forgive you. Well, what's the source of not forgiving someone? It's pride. They don't deserve to be forgiven. So above all things, if God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble, if I can check on anything in my life and anything in my heart, the number one thing I want to be looking out for is pride. So then I do this job where everyone cheers for me just when I get there. There's no mailman today, probably, who's walking up to a mailbox and a whole family is just standing by the mailbox going, Jim, And so what I have to do, I feel like what really helps me is just really concentrate on celebrating other artists. And the more I celebrate them, the more I realize that God isn't using me because I'm amazing. He's using me because he's really gracious, and he likes to use broken things to shame the strong and the wise, right?
Amen.
So, yeah, I would say the number one thing that keeps me from being pride is concentrating on how awesome other people are and celebrating God's life in them.
That's a great word. Mr. Mike Donahue is with us today on Faith Radio's On the Road, the thoughtful, the big-hearted gentleman who supplies lead vocals for 10th Avenue North. They just released their latest record. It's called No Shame, and Mike penned his first book out this month titled Finding God's Life for My Will. His presence is the plan. You know, another area that's really potentially paradigm shifting is when you write that Jesus never asked us to change the world. He said to love one another. And you go on, you know, the people in our vicinity are often our mission field. It seems like there's the chance for some real freedom and direction in there, good man. Could you take us inside that?
Yeah, so that idea I get from every kid who's gone, how do I get a record deal? Right? And I go, well, what do your friends think of your songs? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you want to be on this huge stage. Well, are you blessing the people around you with the talent God's given you? And I think it works the same way when we want to change the world. It's like, cool, you want to change the world. All right, like, how's your block doing? You know? Because, like, I just don't think God wants you to, like, impress a bunch of strangers and not care about the people closest to you. It just seems more Jesus's way of, like, starting with a few and it grows outward. And he models that for us, right? He's got the 3 disciples, and then he's got the 12, and then there's the crowds after that. So one thing I would really encourage people is like, man, I want more influence, right? And I'm like, how about instead of worrying about getting more influence, why don't you worry about what you're doing with the influence you already have? And like, I only have 200 followers. I want to go, dude, Jesus only had 12. You are killing Jesus on Instagram right now. You are crushing him.
Well, we have just about 5 more minutes left, and we want to be really respectful of your time because, man, I know this is a crazy season of life for you, but if you'll pardon me here just as we wind down, I'm wondering if I could tackle one of the headlines from recent weeks with you. We've seen a couple high-profile announcements from some quite big names in Christian culture who've shared that, you know, they no longer believe in this faith that they've shared for so many years. And I honed in on one thing specifically in what the worship songwriter Marty Sampson said. His quote was, "How many preachers fall? Many. No one talks about it. How many miracles happen? Not many. No one talks about it. Why is the Bible full of contradictions? No one talks about it." And I thought of you almost instantly with this, Mike, because you and the gentlemen of 10th Avenue North have been so intentional about asking questions that are tough, that are hard. In light of that, what has been going through your head and in your heart in recent days with this story?
Yeah, you know, that's such a complicated issue, isn't it? And if we get real worked up, at least I've felt like a lot of Christians get real worked up when high-profile Christians announce they're walking away, even though Jesus, he said that's going to happen. He's like, dude, the seed's going to go down, and there's going to be these plants that grow, that look awesome, and then they're going to wither, or the thorns are going to choke it out. Or he kind of was like, yeah, that's going to happen, right? And so we shouldn't be like super shocked. And we also can take a pill, like a chill pill, and realize like God's okay. Like he can handle it. You know, he's not going, you know, Mike, if you had done a better job articulating things, Marty Sampson wouldn't have walked away.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for my own heart, first of all. And to quote Chris Llewellyn is the lead singer of Wren Collective. And his wife, Gabby, said something great on her Instagram. I think even today, I read it this morning. And she said, if we have a faith that doesn't bend sometimes and really explore questions, then it'll break. And I think that's why I've always tried to ask the hardest questions I can and wrestle with them and go, you know what? At the end of the day, we're using words to describe a God who's bigger than words. So, everybody calm down and let it play out. And at the end of the day, more than I'm responsible for convincing someone of something, I am called to love them. Mm-hmm. And so that gives me a lighter burden in all of this and my spot in it.